Welcome back everyone to my YouTube channel Unlimited View class. And in this channel, last class we discussed about Unit 1 Lesson 1, which was generally about Introduction to Physical Fitness. And under the Introduction to Physical Fitness, we discussed about general terms that are like what is physical fitness, what's physical activity, what's physical exercise and sport. And this was all about the previous presentation video. And the second video, which is the continuity of physical fitness, which is general principle of fitness training, will be more discussed, and will make it very quick. Generally, when you say the general fitness principle means, actually we need to talk about the principle. Principle means a rule or stated scientific what you call it, procedure that helps you to have a defined action which will help you to forecast or predict what will be the end result. And sometimes principles shows also the relationship between effect and cause that helps you understand what will happen if you do something. At the same way, when you talk about the general principle of fitness trainings, this means they will tell us exactly what will happen if we do something in a case of our exercise or physical training time. All right, so we'll see one by one what are the main parts or main principles of physical fitness training, but we'll just take now a quick introduction about what as a general principle of fitness mean. Right, the human body adapts well when exposed to stress, and the term stress with the concept of exercise is defined as exertion above normal everyday functioning. All right, in short, what is the idea here? The human body normally responds to some sort of stress. When stress is applied to the body, a body will respond and learn how to adapt and cope up with stress. So stress is required to bring the human physical change. And then when we say stress, it normally means and a body that will be exposed to some more pressure, normal or different than your normal daily activities. Although stress is relatively to each other, there are guiding principles in exercise that can help individuals manage how much stress they experience to avoid injury, optimize their body performance capacity to adapt. So this is the second statement here in the PowerPoint is the most important one, which tells what what is the importance of general principles of physical fitness, because the general principle of physical fitness will help you when injuries that may occur to the human body when the stress is beyond the capacity. So general principle fitness will help us to what you call it, optimize the pressure on the body, and as well as which will help us to make the body as much as possible very fit. So we'll see one by one how it's related with this idea on the next subtopics. All right, knowing a little about the principle provides valuable insight needed for organizing an effective fitness plan. So you see now, we said before that when a person is following the general principle of physical fitness, one of its advantages, and a person will minimize some sort of injuries that may occur because of over exertion or overtraining. And also sometimes when a person doesn't follow the principle, may perform under exertion, and also that may not create a benefit well to the person. And the third thing is, if you understand very well, it will help you organize also an effective fitness training. So each principles have a main contribution toward these three main important things for fitness, performance upgrade, and for minimization or reduction of risks associated with injuries of sport or overtraining, and also will help you establish effective plan. All right. So principle of overload is the first principle. Consider all the same, no pain, no gain. All right. Does exercise really have to be painful is a question now. And as this age implies to be beneficial, all right? So the answer is absolutely should not be. If that were true, exercise would be a lot less enjoyable, all right? But by nature, exercise is enjoyable, we know that. But what's the problem is with the principle of overload? But by definition, overload means adding some more exertion or also stress to the body to facilitate an adaptation or also maintenance or upgrade of performance in physical, all right? But when you add some exertion, does exertion should be beyond your capacity is a question, all right? In here, when you just add or overload the body, you need to see your starting fitness capacity, your health, your age, and also your physical condition. Still, your nutritional status should be considered when you overload your body. All right? And then the overload, normally, the exertion that you add into your body should not be exaggerated or also should not be very less and should be in the optimum. When you say optimum means, and that allows your body adapt well and also that helps your body become really strong, right? So for beginners, most of the time, we just start with a simple exercise for a short period of time with very few frequencies in a week. And then we add progressively one by one. So under the principle of overload, there must be the idea of principle of progression, where the load that you add into your body should be in step by step or also gradual increment way, right? If you just exaggerate it in once, and the problem might be really hard for the body, and if you may even hate exercise and you may go into pain and exercise might be really less enjoyable, all right? Physical stress, when you say physical stress such as walking at brisk pace or also jogging, places increased stress on the regulatory system, such as manages increased heart rate, blood pressure, increased energy production, increased breathing, and even increased sweating for temperature regulation. Because person at rest normally they don't have any pressure to feel, and all things will be at rest, and your blood circulation will be in its normal pace. Your breathing will be in its normal pace, which is about uh, 20, right, per minute, or breathing rate will be 20 per minute in average. Your blood pressure will be normal, which is 80 by 120 millimeter mercury, and energy production will be normal, and everything, sweating will be normal. But whenever people start to stress their physical with exercise, what happens? Energy demand in the body will increase, and to satisfy the energy demand of your muscle, all the systems will perform higher than your resting condition, right? For example, your heart rate will increase more than 72 beats per minute for average people. Your blood pressure will be more for a moment, right? Which you call it acute blood pressure increasement because of exercise. Energy production toward the cell towards your muscular cell will be more, and then increased breathing, sweating will be there. These all are because of the energy demand of the body, right? The second principle, which is associated with the principle of physical fitness, is which you call it FITT principle. In exercise, the amount of stress placed on the body can be controlled by four variables. Normally, these are the controlling mechanism, how much load you are exposing into your body. So the FIT principle, it's normally abbreviated, right, to show, or also it's abbreviated F for frequency, I for intensity, T for time, again T for type of exercise, all right? And it's better or also abbreviated as a FIT in short. So let's start with the frequency and the time. What is their combination and what is the important thing there? Each variable can be used independently or in a combination with other variables to impose new stress and stimulate adaptation, such as case for frequency and time, right? Frequency relates or also frequency defines how often exercise are performed over a period of time, all right? And the period of time might be per week, per month, or also per year. You don't know about that, but how many times you are performing is the important thing. But for beginners, it might be enough to start with 2 to 3 times per week in exercise, right? And seasoned veterans or a person who are really, what do you call it, has a good experience and in old age, they may not be enough for them to stress their body 2 to 3 per week, and they may require higher frequency. So frequency in short is about repetition. How much or how often you are going to repeat the exercise per week is the most important aspect. And another important thing is when you just multiply your frequency by your time, you will have a volume, and the volume is the amount of total time you spend in an exercise. For example, when attempting to create a jogging plan, you may organize in 2 weeks like this. And the first week, 3 days, all right, a week at 30 minutes per session, and the second week is 4 days a week at 45 minutes per session. And then, do you think that, all right, the week and week have a good progression, right? That means from week to week or from week one to week one, do they have a good progression in terms of the volume? Is a question now. So, in short, here, if you see the amount of time there, in a first is 30 times 3 days, which is 90 minutes, but here 4 times 45 is 180 minutes. So it's almost, yeah, it's perfectly double than the first week. So this might not be really acceptable, and it might really create in your body a high volume of exercise and may create overtraining, and it doesn't follow good progression. So what we do is either we change the time and we keep the frequency as it is. For example, the frequency is 3, the time is 45, it will be 135 minutes per week. Or you keep the time as it is and increase the frequency, which is 4 days, and 4 days times 30 minutes will be 120 minutes. So it's better to progress from 90 minutes to 120 minutes than 135 minutes and maybe 180 minutes. Well, your body will adapt well and your condition will be good and the exercise will not be a stress or above normal stress in your body, actually. A second part of it principle is the type of exercise, or also in somewhere we call it, in some time we call it specificity, all right? Simply put, the type of exercise performed should reflect a person's goals, right? This means the main idea here is when you perform an exercise, there must be something, an objective behind the exercise. For example, a person who wants to lose a weight may highly concentrate on aerobic exercises. Aerobic exercises like running, rhythmic dances, maybe jogging, maybe biking, maybe treadmill in a gymnasium setup, and also rope skip and the like exercises will be more used to reduce or also to lose a weight in human, all right? So what is the idea here when you say type of exercise? The idea is the type of exercise you choose should exactly fit with the main objectives that you want to achieve, right? For example, in cardio fitness, the objective of exercise is to stimulate the cardiorespiratory system, right? Other activities that accomplished the same objective include swimming, biking, dancing, cross-country skiing, aerobic classes, and much more, which will have an effect on your aerobic because this will increase your blood circulation and also your respiration rate, right? However, the, the more specific the exercise, the better benefit you will acquire from an exercise. So specificity tells that the exercise should exactly specify to the type of objective you want to achieve. So principle of specificity, a few additional items should be considered. The stress as it's related to the exercise is very specific, and there are multiple type of stresses in a body normally. The three main stressors are metabolic stress, force stress, and environmental stress. Keep in mind the body will adapt, right, based on the type of stress being placed on it. So metabolic stress results from exercise session when the energy system your body is taxed or your energy system your body is changed than its resting condition, all right? Example, aerobic energy pathway is running, swimming, and anaerobic energy pathway is sprinting that lasts for 10 seconds to 2 minutes maximum. So these are the type of metabolic stresses. So metabolic stresses are a stress that is placed in your body about the production of energy. All right. Force stress accounts for the amount of force required during an activity because it's known that when you perform any activity, your body needs to produce the amount of force from your muscle strength, right? And this force, which is termed as a power, power is the amount of force your muscle produces during a training. So a force normally required for production of any activity or movement, right? So, for example, specifically in weightlifting, significance for production is required to lift heavy loads, and this type of muscle being developed fast-twitch muscle fiber must be recruited to support the activity, and there, or a force is the amount of force that is required during an activity which help you maintain your activity. So it's really important one. And the third stress that occurs in the body is environmental stress, such as exercising in heat places, right? Tremendous amount of stress on the thermoregulatory system. As adaptation to the heat, the amount of sweating increases, as does the plasma volume will be decreased, and making it much easier to keep the body at a normal temperature during exercise. So environmental stress normally occurs because of environmental factors, as we said before, lowlands in a very high hot environment, and also highlands in a very high altitude where they have their own effects on the body. So environmental factors as much as possible. Here we have one recommendation. Science or exercise science recommends that the force stress and also metabolic stresses are very required, but as much as possible, the environmental stress should be reduced, all right? So whenever there is a high heat, you may perform in a good times, maybe early in the morning or in the afternoon, or also if there is some raining conditions, you may change your plan and make it at a non-raining time, all right? The third one is intensity. Intensity is a degree of difficulty at which the exercise is carried out, and intensity measures how hard is the exercise you perform and is most important variable of fitness. More than any of the other component, intensity drives or stimulates adaptation. So for adaptation, intensity is most required, right? Level of intensity can be hard, high, medium, or also low. How can intensity be measured is the question. Right? We don't have any scientific measurement that we use in short to measure intensity, but we use easily the heart rate of one person is the best way to measure the person's effort level in an exercise or cardiovascular fitness. It has some shortcoming about using the heart rate of some person or a person's for a best way to measure the person's effort level, because when a person is normally beginner in a very low intensity exercise, he might have a very high heart rate, and that may not exactly measure the intensity level of a person, all right? So intensity, it's better, we cannot say we are 100%, but how hard the exercise for a person may not be the same for all people, all right? So one experienced or also a person with a high physical fitness level might be easy to perform one type of exercise, but for the other might be really difficult or also moderate, all right? So we cannot say intensity is the same for all people, but it depends according to your fitness level when you just start the exercise. Another important thing is about prioritization, recovery, rest, or sometimes we call it adaptation is there, all right? And here, it's a big challenge to balance athletes' exercise effort with performance improvements and adaptation and rest, right? With adequate rest. Most of the time, like experienced athletes, they may fail into problem when they just have a lot time of exercise with short rest, and also with short rest of recovery time, but it hampers the exercise capacity of an athlete. So systematic approach to rest and recovery has led exercise scientists and athletes like to divide the progression fitness training phases into blocks or periods. And as a result, optimum rest and recovery can be achieved without overstressing the athlete. And this training principle is called prioritization. Prioritization is all about planning your exercise with adequate rest, with adequate performance time. And it's essentially important to serious athletes, all right? But can also apply to most exercise plans as well with human like us. For example, you can see here example of prioritization. And a week one, for example, the frequency is 3, intensity is 40% of heart rate, and then the time is 25 minutes. The type of exercise is walking. And in a week two, the frequency is upgraded to 4, and the intensity is kept as it is, which is 40% of heart rate, and the time is 13 minutes, and the type is walk. In week 3, 4 days, 50% of heart rate and 35 minutes, which is walking. In a week 4, 2 days per week, which is there is a reduction in the frequency or repetition, still reduction in intensity, which is to 30% than initial. Again, the time is 30 minutes. There is reduction in a minute also, or in a time, and the type of exercise is other. In here, what you understand is the athlete or a person has already was increasing or overloading the body from week 1 up to week 3, right? But in a week 4, what happens? The person already reduces the amount of frequency, intensity, and the time where it can be classified as a type of rest in between 1 month or also 1 week of training. So what is the problem if we don't have periodization is an important thing. Without periodization, the stress from exercise would continue indefinitely or eventually leading to fatigue, right, possible injuries. Now what is the point is here, for example, if we don't have a good plan or also we don't have a good periodization for an exercise, what happens in the body, right? So as we said, periodization means an appropriate planning that includes best time of performance with sufficient or also enough rest times between the exercises, right? So if we say so, if you don't have a plan, what happens with the people? If you don't have a plan, most of the time, what may happen is definitely fatigue may happen, injuries may occur because of body weakness, of overuse, or also overtraining syndromes might be occur with the people doesn't have appropriate training. And the other way, if your exercise training is very low and your rest is very high, the amount of change that you need might be stimulated, so it becomes really short, right? So experts agree that decline in performance resulting from psychological and physiological factors cannot be fixed by a few day rest. This means if once an athlete fails in overtraining status or goes into overtraining syndrome because of overuse of body, and this may not be very easy to recover. Even it may need not only days but weeks, months, and sometimes even years are required to overcome or also clear from the symptom of overtraining syndromes, right? And this is really critical. What are the main symptoms of overtraining is weight loss from your normal weight, loss of motivation, or also loss of interest in exercise, inability to concentrate or focus. Athletes may not uh, actually they look like listening to you, but if you just confirm, they don't get the main idea of your training when you just give them instruction in a training condition. So inability to concentrate will be very common. Feeling of depression, an athlete will feel really depressed and they don't have the interest or motivation for all things around them, around their life. Lack of enjoyment in activities normally considered enjoyable activities. Actually, activity sometimes may not be enjoyable and sometimes is enjoyable, but even the enjoyable activities become non-enjoyable for athletes, those who are in overtraining status. Sleep disturbances. Sleep disturbance means abnormalities. Most of the time, sleeping time will be more, but it depends according to the response of the people. Some may sleep more and some may not sleep very well. Change in appetite at the same time, appetite change will be there. Athletes may not eat food and some athletes may consume more than the normal. So change of appetite will be very common. Another principle, which is an important principle, is principle of reversibility. And a principle of reversibility, what's the important thing is here, chronic adaptation are not permanent. This means once you have upgraded or once you have maintained your physical fitness, if you stop performing and the change are not permanent and will not stay throughout your life with you. So as the saying goes, use it or lose it defines exactly what is the principle of reversibility. And a principle of reversibility is normally, we call it in another term, the principle of detraining. Normally, detraining means when a person stops training and they will go back to their initial fitness level. And the principle of reversibility or detraining suggests that activity must be continued at the same level to keep the same level of adaptation or the same level of physical fitness. But if you just stop or also minimize the amount of your activity level or the exertion in your body or the exercise stress in your body, and the level fitness will reduce and your capacity will be lost, and again you have to work harder to come back into your initial fitness level. All right, as activity declines, we call it detraining. Adaptation will recede or also will return back into its or revert into its initial status. In cardiovascular endurance, key areas such as VO2 max, which is this is we describe it the maximum amount of oxygen consumption during exercise, or stroke volume is the amount of blood that heart ejects at one contraction, and cardiac output is the total amount of blood heart will pump within 1 minute, which is a product of cardiac volume by the heart rate of your heart. All declines with retraining, while sub-maximum heart rate is increased, right? What is the effect of exercise normally? Exercise will help you develop in terms of the cardiorespiratory endurance, will help you develop using a maximum oxygen consumption capacity. Your stroke volume will be high, cardiac output will be high, and your sub-maximum heart rate will be decreased when you become fit. But when you stop exercising, the VO2 max will be reduced, stroke volume will be reduced and declined, or cardiac output will be reduced as well, but the maximum heart rate will be increased, which is unwanted changes in physical fitness principle. In one day, or sorry, in one study, trained subjects were given a bed rest for 20 days after training, right? Then at the end of the bed rest phase, VO2 max had fallen by 27%, stroke volume and cardiac output had fallen by 25%. This means one-fourth or approximately one-fourth of total their fitness capacity, which is related to cardiovascular endurance, was reduced. And well-trained subjects in the study had trained for nearly 40 days following a bed rest to get back into pre-rest condition. This means now I want you to assume that there was a training and then there was a rest and again it was retraining. And the rest has already brought or it makes them lost one-fourth of their total body capacity. And again, during the retraining time, athletes cannot have immediately, or athletes will not have the capacity immediately revert into their normal pre-bed rest condition. So what happens is it needs 40 days, right, or nearly 40 days training for coming again into the condition which is pre-rest, right? In a study of college swimmers, again, lactic acid in a blood after 2 minutes swim more than double after 4 weeks of detraining. This means lactic acid is normally the reason why most of the people become fatigued in an exercise, and it's normally can be described as the amount of concentration of hydronium ion in a body, and which is normally mostly observed in people with low or also unfit physical, right? But in a college swimmers, the lactic acid in the blood after 2 minutes to swim, means after they swim 2 minutes, was taken and checked in a study, and then there was 4 weeks of retraining or rest given, and after that the athletes was again taken to the swimming 40 minutes and again checked the level of lactic acid, and according to this study, this shows that the ability to buffer this lactic acid was dramatically affected. That means the amount of lactic acid will be higher than the previous one, right? Not only in endurance training, or also not only is endurance training affected, but also muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, all shows similar results after a period of detraining. So no fitness component will remain unaffected if an athlete takes a complete rest. So according to the principle of reversibility or detraining, it tells that people normally should continue their exercise throughout their life. No stopping is allowed. What you call it, normally no interruption is allowed, but scientific rest can be taken and you have to come back again into your exercise. So exercise is a lifelong activity or a lifestyle. Again here we have one important principle of individual difference. While the principle of adaptation to stress can be applied to everyone, Not everyone responds to stress in the same way. This means adaptation to stress or also exposed to stress might be possible for all peoples, and adaptation might be possible for all peoples, but the level of adaptation might be the same. For example, one study was conducted in a heritage family study. A family of 5, father, mother, and 3 children, participated in a training program for 20 weeks. So it seemed the same time of exercise, the same stress to the body, the same frequency, the same repetition, the same everything, right, was given to all the family. They exercise 3 times per week at 75% of their VO2 max, increasing their time to 50 minutes by the end of 14, because it was 20. All right, so 50 minutes by the end of 14 means from 14 to 20 weeks. By the end of the study, there was an assessment which is given to the family about their physical fitness capacities, but a wide variation in response to the same exercise regime was seen by individual and families, and the difference was very clear. There was differences between a family. There was a differences between even a person in the same family, and this is described as the principle of individual difference. Those who saw the most improvements saw similar percentage improvements across the family and vice versa, and along with other studies. This has led researchers to believe individual differences in exercise response are genetic. Some experts, even experts, estimate genes to contribute to much of 47 of the outcome of training. In addition to genes, other factors can affect the degree of adaptation, such as a person's age, gender, training status or start of the program, or the level of your physical fitness, and nutritional status. A lot of things affects the level of your adaptation, right? As one may expect, rapid improvement is experienced by those with a background that includes less training, where those who are well trained improves at a slower rate. What is the idea of this statement is that athletes or a person who starts the training from an MPT will progress or improve more, but athletes who start in intermediate level may not actually bring big change than you expect from the beginners. And the beginners can show a very rapid change, a very rapid improvement, whereas it might be very difficult even to begin a small amount of changes in experienced athletes in case of physiological changes. Thank you. This is the end of chapter 1. We'll meet in chapter 2, lesson 1, in a very short days, and I will upload in my YouTube channel, Unlimited View. And if you like this video, subscribe and also click the bell. That will help you get notified when new uploads are there, and support by subscribing or liking the video or comment, right, to improve this presentation. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.